So I wanted to make this video after noticing something happening a bit too much. This is just my observation, so hopefully this doesn't come across as a rant video. That's not my intention. So anyway, I feel like I've noticed this too much across various socials. Like I see this on Reddit, YouTube, I see this in Discord conversations and so on. It seems that like a lot of the time when someone asks about Nilou Bloom and why Collei is good or what she does there, that the main answer is the front load or the front-loaded Dendro application. This is a thing I see a lot, and this is the aspect that's focused on the most. Also, for newer players who may be confused on what we're referring to, when people say front-loaded application, it means that between Collei's skill and her burst, they apply a lot of Dendro application quick, which both helps override and keeps her Hydro teammates doing as much reactions as possible, as well as in general it giving a lot of application very quickly for potentially more reactions than the average teammate. Also, just as a disclaimer, I know quite a bit of people in this community may have learned about Collei and Nilou from my videos or from my written guide. And for a small channel like mine, don't misunderstand, I'm very grateful for the amount of views and the amount of my videos being shared across social platforms. So whilst I'm happy that this information has spread and people are appreciating and understanding these underrated characters more, whilst the aspect of front-loaded application is true, I think my issue is that it's greatly simplifying things. And honestly, front load is just one of the aspects that make her good. I just feel like many people may have focused on just one of the points in my guides, and it may lead to either forgetting or overlooking the rest of the points. Like I said, it's not wrong, but I think there's a lot more to it. Furthermore, focusing on just this word front load, I thought about it and I think it can overcomplicate things for the general player base. Since elemental application can be pretty advanced and we know it can scare off more casual players, in a way I feel like this is a case where the overall message may sometimes be lost. I'm just thinking of a comparison, like when people talk about Child International being good, you know, sometimes you see someone say it's just because Child has AoE Hydro application for Xiangling to vape. Is that one of the reasons? Yes, but just summarizing it like that, you kind of end up missing out on 10 other reasons. So to sum all that up, for Collei, the reality is there's plenty of gameplay advantages I think she has that any player can easily notice just by playing. It's not just scientific stuff like front-loaded application, and a lot of it isn't hidden, or I don't think it's that complicated. So besides front load, what else does she have? Number one, portability. This is something everyone can notice. It allows for a lot more movement in your teams and a lot more flexibility in your teams. I would honestly say this is just as relevant as the front-loaded application, especially when you take into account recent abysses. You know, enemies are on different parts of the map and you will really notice the flexibility of being able to move about. I might as well take a quote from my Nilou mains guide. Collei has low-ish reliance on her burst with portable front-loaded damage over time Dendro application via her skill. This is even stronger with her Ascension 1 talent, her Constellation 2 and Constellation 6, and it's further enhanced with Sacrificial Bow, giving her an additional skill used to benefit from all of those things I just mentioned. This flexibility is very noticeable as Bloom teams lack a way to group enemies since you can't play Animo characters in Nilou teams, so her access to portable Dendro application maintains consistency when needing to reposition. This isn't that unique to Collei, at least overall. I would say for comparison you could get portability with Xingqiu or Yelan. You would also get portability with the new character Baizhu. However, Collei is obviously a 4-star and she has other advantages as well. So back to the point, as we know, with all these opportunities to apply Dendro to enemies and this portability, This makes her application very frequent and consistent, especially in AoE. You could say you are less likely to hit bad timing in between hits and have gaps in application. So it's not just the initial front-loaded elemental application, but I would say Collei also has consistency over time too, especially if, as I mentioned, you use sacrificial bow, so you have more frequent skill uses. Like, I'll give you an example. This Abyss cycle just reset a few days ago, and during the first casual run to get all the rewards and primo gems, I thought my Yao is already geared, so I just decided to use Yao in the team instead. Now obviously Yao works fine, but there were times during my run where I thought, this is not as smooth, or it's not really pumping out the blooms and mowing through enemies like I would with Collei. I wasn't even trying to speedrun, this is just normal gameplay. Secondly, Collei's burst has high consistency within its range. If I take another quote from that guide, her elemental burst, despite small-ish range, does constantly hit every enemy within its AoE range, which does give a very noticeable spike in danger application and thus bloom damage after being casted. Again, this is pretty noticeable, I would say. It can be very annoying, say when you play a teammate like Traveler instead, and since his burst targets enemies randomly within its range, it's annoying when his burst isn't actually hitting the enemies I want. Again, not to say that Traveler is bad, Traveler is obviously good and a perfectly viable option, but this is one of the nuances that you will notice from playing about with the teammates. Last point, obviously Collei has access to some of the best team buffs, like team EM buffs at C4 or Elegy for the end, but I think this is pretty straightforward. On this topic though, hopefully it's well known by now that Elegy isn't always the best. I also do see sometimes that people focus on the fact that Collei can wield Elegy, and their conversations somewhat imply that because she can wield Elegy and someone like Traveler doesn't have access to similar weapons, that's the reason why Collei is good. When we know in practice that that's not necessarily true. Whilst Elegy is great, Sacrificial Bow is also great, and even sometimes the extra duration and utility that it can give can sometimes be even more helpful than the buffs you get from Elegy for the end. I'm sure a lot of other people have also noticed this. I think there's a reason why if you read Collei's kit, there are quite a few references to elemental skill. And I wouldn't say it's because of the Gambler's artifact set or some future elemental skill artifact set. Actually, I believe these are just to help with Sac Bow synergy and to help its consistency in activating its passive. There's also tenacity of the Millilith synergy, but we don't really use that in Nilou Bloom. Also, I do want to mention, obviously I don't recommend Collei for everyone, and I know she can be hard to play for newer Nilou players, as well as some people may not like her playstyle. She is certainly not without flaws, so I don't think that Collei is perfect, and honestly she can definitely be replaced in the future. When it happens though, I don't know, but that's a separate discussion. Hopefully you found this discussion interesting. Feel free to comment if you have noticed this as well, or maybe you haven't and I'm just blowing this out of proportion. But this is something that I see happen consistently, so thought about making a video on it. And also hopefully you found this video helpful overall. Like maybe one or two of these things you may not have thought about maybe. Lastly, to end the video, on a sort of similar topic, if someone did want to simplify something in Nilou Bloom and say it's just for front load or just for speedrunning, I thought about it, and you could actually easily say that for triple EM artifacts on Kokomi. Like, I will fully admit, and a lot of people know this already, but the only reason why most of us use triple EM is just to maximize the DPS or maximize your clear time. It's quite clearly harder to play and you would die a lot because when using triple EM you have such low HP, but it's purely for speedrunning. Or maybe if you want to show your friend your highest bloom number. Even in terms of clear time, you're probably only saving a few seconds maximum instead of just using healing bonus or using high HP. The DPS isn't that much better, but I'm trying to go as fast as I can. But yeah, compared to this, I wouldn't really say Collei is in the same boat as just for speed running only and that she's hard to play. Thanks for watching.